Hi there. For this second installment, I decided to move to a more comfortable location, you might say. Today what I want to talk about is basically the rediscovery of an old skill. For many, many years, my photography was all with manually focused cameras. Now, of course, focus aids that were available in those cameras progressed through the microprism, which was a very interesting way of focusing. Basically, it would be difficult to describe. It's something you'd have to see, but it was an aid. Later came the split image center rangefinder, in which the image was actually split, and when you focused, it lined up. That was a big improvement, and that was what I depended upon for most of my years manually focusing. Of course, modern cameras no longer have either a microprism nor a split image rangefinder. They rely upon the autofocus to do the focusing for you. Well, some people are very good at focusing manually despite that. Many professional photographers shoot almost entirely manually. I've tried it many times and my success rate's not been good. However, I've discovered that with my newer Pentax cameras, and I said no brand loyalty, so this I'm sure applies to any brand, the actual focus device in the camera, the focus sensor, will of course give me an indication when I'm in proper focus. And since I've set it to the center focus point, I find that with these old lenses it's quite accurate. Now, what do you mean old lenses? Well, remember I said I was rediscovering an old skill? I just managed to purchase a very nice set of Rikenon XR, that was their top brand at the time, XR Rikenon lenses. I have a 28mm, I have a 50mm, which is right here. The 28's an f2.8, the 50 is an f2, not particularly fast, but not bad. I also have a 135 f2.8 and a very nice zoom that I'm coming to terms with. It's a 70 to 150 f3.5, and yes, you heard me right, not 3.5, 5.6, but 3.5 at all focal lengths. I've tried these lenses out, and in good lighting conditions, I find that the camera and I can work together to make them work. Now, you say, what's the big deal? Well, here's what we have to deal with. The camera has to be in manual mode. With the camera in manual mode, the aperture has to be set with the ring on the lens. Modern cameras often don't have this feature. Fuji has basically reintroduced it in their X series cameras. All of their X series primes have a manual focus ring. Other manufacturers are starting to add them to their lenses. Some companies such as Leica, which of course never really changed, have always had manual focus and an aperture ring. So I set the aperture I want to use. Here I've set f8. Now, if I'm going to focus, I simply turn my camera on. First of all, it asks me what focal length, because this camera has in-body stabilization. So it's set at 50mm, so that's good. Now, when I touch the AF button at the back and turn the focus ring, you should be able to hear the beep. There, it's in focus. Now, in order to set the exposure, I simply have to stop down the lens with this lever, and then I will see a number telling me how much over or underexposed the picture would be. I will then use my dial at the front, the dial at the front here, to set the shutter speed until I get 0 or whatever value I want close to that. If I want to overexpose, such as out in the snow, if I want to underexpose, such as shooting a stage show, then I have to decide how much to over or underexpose. Anyhow, the point is, instead of simply pointing and clicking and taking a picture. Now, think of my procedure. I have to frame the image, decide where I want my sharp focus, look at that point, hold down my AF button and turn until I get the beep. There you go. And then set my aperture, my exposure, by changing my shutter speed until I get a 0. And there it is. Now, here's the thing. All of those procedures were done automatically by the camera before. And you don't have to be staring at this screen on top here to set the exposure. I can see those numbers in the viewfinder. And when I have everything right, well, not much of a picture because it's merely a picture of one of my lights. Anyhow, manual exposure, manual lenses. One last comment on these lenses is that in the days of manual focus, most quality lenses were made out of metal. Modern lenses often have a lot of plastic for very simple reasons. Unless they have internal focusing, they have to move around this with a focus motor. This lens is not easy to turn, but it's very smooth. People with hands can easily turn this. A little electric motor would have a little bit of difficulty. So the result is that, except for modern high-end optics, the build quality of these old lenses actually surpasses their current counterparts. The Nifty 50, which is what this is, nowadays is basically sometimes referred to as the plastic fantastic because of its lightweight plastic construction. This, solid metal. Anyhow, it's just a blast from the past. In the next video, I'll look at using those same lenses with a mirrorless camera body. Mirrorless cameras have adapters for almost any lens that was popular in the film era. As a result, finding an adapter to work with your mirrorless camera is probably not that difficult, and the results can be quite satisfying. Anyhow, stay tuned for the next episode, which will be how to take that mirrorless camera and use legacy lenses. So long.